I'm your host, Chris Roberts, and today we're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're going to show you how the basically everything that the government does really comes down to money, and you have to go follow the money, and you may get the answer. Also, you'll see magazines, news reporters, writers. You have on one side on the left saying one thing, one side on the right saying another thing. And like today, our topic will be migrants and immigrants. And like I'm going to show you that one side is saying, so the right is going and saying, this is an invasion of the country, it's costing a lot of money, the whole works. And these immigrants, the Democrats are letting the immigrants in because they want voters forever and ever. They figure all these immigrants will be Democratic voters. Second is, and the Democrats are saying it's the right thing to do. We're a welcoming country. We're a country of immigrants. It's going back and forth. They're arguing. Well, I hope to show you by the end of this hour, they're only putting a play on for you and I and figure, the average American, they don't pay attention. They go a little bit of sound bites here, little sound bites there. So we can have Fox News or Patriot radio station, or we can have MSNBC or NBC. They're going back and forth. Or even worse, we can have the President Biden's press secretary, which I think she would have a hard time finding the truth if someone wrote it out for her on a teleprompter for her to read. And she would come up some gibblish-gabbish, it doesn't make any sense. Or she would find a way to answer the question by rearranging the question and make it a sentence. Well, what got me going on this, I was reading an article in Business Insider. And it goes, right here. Nearly 3 million more Americans are working than were in January 2020, but the number of U.S.-born workers have barely budged. This means immigrants, specifically foreign-born workers, are responsible for most of the United States' job growth over the recent years. Foreign-born workers' share of the U.S. workforce has risen from basically 17% to almost in 2020 to almost 20% in March of 2024, according to Business Insider's analysis of the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Okay, this is what we're going to pick out political seek. The supporters of immigration said these newcomers that provide the United States economy a huge boost and not taking American jobs, a common argument made by those against immigration. With many boomers reaching retirement age and younger people having fewer children than they used to, immigration may be the best way for the U.S. labor force to sustain and grow. Okay? Nearly 3 million more Americans are working than in January 2020. And compared to January 2020 to last month, basically 1 out of every 5 workers in the United States are foreign born. So what they're saying is basically the same amount of American-born workers that were working in 2020 are still working in 2024. The 3 million more people working, nearly 3 million more Americans are working. Okay, don't you have to be a citizen to be an American? So what they're saying is basically 3 million foreign-born people in the last 3 years have come into the United States and gotten jobs. And what it's doing is saying these people are now Americans. If you come across the border illegally, enter the country illegally, you're not an American. You do not become an American citizen as soon as you cross the border. Okay, if I'm from Mexico or Nigeria or Bangladesh or Ukraine, if I come to the United States, I don't consider myself an American as soon as I get to America. I'm still a Ukrainian, I'm still a Nigerian, I'm still a Mexican. But this article in Business Insider is saying, as soon as you come to the United States, you are an American. I don't know any other country that has that standard. And also, it's saying foreign born. Well, if me and my wife came from Venezuela and we had 3 children, and those 3 children are now old enough and are working, they do not fall in the foreign-born category because the law of the land is if you are born in the United States, you are an American citizen. You can be American citizen and help maybe get your mother and father American citizenship off of you, but just because you are born in the United States and you're born as an American citizen does not grant your mother and father American citizenship. And in a bunch of ways, they have no legal right to stay in the United States and can be deported to the country of origin. So, like it says, nearly 3 million more Americans are working than were in January 2020, but the number of U.S.-born workers has barely budged. So we got 3 million more workers. Okay? What does that mean? Who's benefiting from that? Oh, American businesses. But who are losing from that? Okay? They say, in fact, that other side says, immigrants are in fact taking American jobs in addition to reducing wages and contributing to higher housing costs. And illegal border crossings from Mexico resulted in a record number of arrests, and cities like New York and Chicago and Denver are struggling to accommodate the influx of migrants to their city. So right here at the top, it says nearly 3 million more Americans are working. But in the middle, where they know a bunch of people will not read it, they'll read the beginning of the article and the end of the article. So they cover their butt by saying migrants. And it goes, however, some people have argued that immigrants, in fact, are taking American jobs in addition to reducing wage and contributing to high housing costs. And cities like New York and Chicago are struggling to accommodate the influx of migrants to their city. So, in 4 paragraphs, in about 150 words, this college-educated degree in communication, may even have a master's degree, have called them Americans, foreign-born, immigrants, migrants. So, which is it? The first thing a history teacher or an English teacher would say is, who are you talking about? What you have said right here in these first 4 paragraphs could all be the same person. What you're saying is an American who happens to be foreign born, who's an immigrant, and now a migrant. What you've done is you put that all 4. Who are the immigrant workers that have come to the United States in recent years? They're likely to be young males working in one of 3 industries, making less than $40,000 a year, and living in one of 4 states, according to Goldman Sachs. And then it kind of goes in big bold letters. The typical recent immigrant is more likely than U.S.-born population to have a college degree. I'm going to beg to differ there. Because, for example, the last one that they had is in 2020, fiscal year 2022. And in that year, basically a little bit more than 1 million people in the United States obtained lawful permanent resident status by type of admission. Lawful resident status does not mean you're granted citizenship. It means you're allowed to be in the country lawfully. Okay, of that 1 million people that were obtained lawful permanent immigration status, about 53% were already living in the United States. They got arrivals. And they were given legal a lawful status to become a permanent resident. And for example, 10,000 of the 553,000, there was 3,000 new ones from Bangladesh, 2,000 new ones from Afghanistan, 3,000 from Argentina, 3,000 from Australia, 17,000 Brazil, 14,000 from Canada, 42,000 from Colombia, 13,000 from the Congo, 14,000 from Cuba, 15,000 for El Salvador, 10,000 for the Dominican Republic, 105,000 from India, 9,000 from Guatemala, 9,000 from Honduras, 71,000 from Mexico, and so how you gain lawful permanent, okay, I could have came into the country illegally. I joined the Marine Corps, and after I've been in the Marine Corps for 3 years and I do my job really well, haven't got in trouble, then I can get accelerated American citizenship. So if I'm from El Salvador and I get American citizenship, then I can apply to say, okay, I would like my mother and my mother and father to come to the United States. And the State Department may grant them the ability to come to the United States as permanent residents, but not U.S. citizens. They would have to wait. Okay, my grandson goes to Japan. He's there for 3 years. He marries a Japanese girl. They go through all the process, and she's given a visa and she's given a green card, and she automatically becomes a permanent resident. Not American citizen, but a permanent resident. So half the people, so in the fiscal year 2022, a little bit more than 1 million people were granted permanent residency status. Well, you shut down fiscal year 21 from COVID. And so what it's saying is, so we go in and say, this one isn't over. So say we count the last 3 years, and the last 3 years, basically 3 million people were given permanent residency status in the United States. But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 3 million people that immigrated into the country, more are now working. So something is wrong there, because the typical recent immigrant is more likely than the U.S.-born population to have a college degree, okay? If you come from Canada, you come from Australia, India, China, Argentina, Brazil, Ukraine, some of the other Central Russia. We want those people because not only do a lot of them have college degrees, but they also have master's degrees, and they also have professional degrees. Basically, the United States has a habit of stealing well-trained people from other countries. Okay, if I get a doctor, medical degree from in India or medical degree in the Philippines, or China, for example, or go to MIT or one of the big ones, I come to the United States, I get trained, I graduate, and I'm certified in the United States. A lot go home, but a lot do not go home, and they stay here. And so that group would have professional degrees. The Goldman Sachs report said recent uptick in immigration to the United States has been tied to a rise in unauthorized immigration, which is foreign-born people coming into the United States who are not legal U.S. residents. The report said many of these people come from South America, Central America, and Mexico, and the number of immigrants from these regions likely tripled in 2023 compared to 2019. In recent years, over half the immigrants, which should be migrants or illegal immigrants, settled in one of 4 states: Chicago, California, Texas, and New York. Hey, California, they went and said health care for everybody. A few years back, they gave it up to undocumented immigrants between a certain age. Now they said everybody. And so what's happening is a lot of doctors are refusing to take the California part of basically Medicaid, because California Medicaid pays less than the federal Medicaid, and basically they're losing money on them. A doctor does not have to take you as a patient. If you come into the emergency room will treat you, but they can send you out and no doctor has to take you. And next, New Jersey, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Georgia are the next most popular states. The Massachusetts is spending an awful lot of money for being a sanctuary state. California, New York. City of New York is worrying about paying billions of dollars to take care of the migrants. Among the immigrants 16 and older who came to the United States in the last 3 years, nearly 90% of them were between the ages 60 and 54, compared to 62% of the U.S.-born population. Roughly 64% of these recent immigrants were working or looking for work, compared to 62% of U.S.-born workers. Okay, look what it's saying. The number of illegal immigrants from Central America, South America, and Mexico has tripled between 2019 and 2023. And 90% of them are between 16 and 54, compared to 62%. And roughly 64% of the recent immigrants were working or looking for work, compared to 62% of U.S.-born workers. So here it is. When we go and look at that 64% number, Okay? It's how you see they put it that way. 64 are either working or looking for work. So that would mean if this group, the vast majority of this 64%, do not have work authorization to work in the United States, what are they working? Why are they working? Where are they working? For example, if I'm an IT guy or a computer scientist or things like that, I can get work visas for 3 years. I can work at CNS. I can work at Google. I can work at Microsoft. And because why would I want to work there? Because I'm going to get paid a heck of a lot more money than I would back in India or China or some of those places. Why would Google and Microsoft? Because I can pay those people less money than American educated individual. So if I have a native-born American graduating from MIT in computer technology, and I have an Indian student come in, graduate from MIT, and I can use one of the visas that I'm allotted to bring that individual in, then I save money. Of course, I'm not supposed to use a visa if there's American talent available. But there's a way to get around it. Also, because we want to make so much money and we don't want to pay, then you can get, I'm going to work at Google for 3 to 4 years. Or I'm going to work here. And guess what? Then I'll work at Amazon in the cloud for 3-4 years, and I'll work on defense contracts for Amazon. And after my 3 to 4 years up, I will take that knowledge and go back home, whether it's to China or India. And it goes, you can't do that. They make sure you don't take anything out. You know what? They do not clear my brain every time I walk out the door. So all I have to do is, if I'm working there 3 years, 600-700 days, all I have to do is remember a couple paragraphs a day. After my work day is done, I go home and write down what I learned from today, or I write down trade secrets. Then it goes, recent immigrants had an unemployment rate of 6.3 compared to 3.8 for U.S.-born workers. Here's another catch. If you're a recent immigrant, you don't qualify for unemployment insurance because you have to work at least 4 to 5 quarters to get unemployment. But here in our divine wisdom, if I'm collecting unemployment for 26 weeks, I'm unemployed. I fit into the numbers. Okay? But after my 26 weeks, there's a good chance that I'm going to be dropped off because I have to be actively searching for work to be considered unemployed after my unemployment insurance runs out. So again, when I look at some of the things, they're saying the actual U.S. unemployment is pretty close. Unemployment and underemployment is about 10%. It means that, for example, I'm working below my training and expertise, I'm working a part-time job because that's all available, or I'm not working at all. Not the official 3.8. That number is based on the individuals who are actually collecting unemployment or actively searching for unemployment. Among recent immigrants 16 and older, 55 were male compared to 46 of American-born individuals. See? Okay, writing in big letters, the typical recent migrant is more likely than the U.S.-born population to have a college degree. Okay? And right here, really small print, recent immigrants were much less likely than the U.S.-born population to have graduated from high school. Nearly 1 out of 4 recent immigrants aged 16 or over have a less than a high school diploma compared to 10% of U.S.-born population. So the recent immigrants, migrants, illegals, about 250% higher non-high school graduates than Americans. Basically, 10% for Americans, 24% for the illegals, and that's for the one they catch. What they've done is a lot of the migrants, like for example, immigrants, Nashua actively goes out and looks for lawful immigrants to come to the United States because they know they will benefit the city of Nashua because they become own their own businesses and they add to the overall well-being of the city. However, recent immigrants more likely than U.S.-born Americans have a college degree. Over 39% of recent immigrants they have a bachelor's or advanced degree compared to 34% of U.S.-born population. The biggest discrepancy was the share of workers with only some college education, about 13% for recent immigrants and 28% for U.S. population. So one way you could put it is when you go at recent immigrants, 52% of recent immigrants have some college up to an advanced degree. Well, when you look at that number, but then you can say 62% of American workers have had some level of college up to an advanced degree. Again, you're playing with the statistics. The most common workers for immigrant workers are construction, professional and business, and accommodation and food service. Okay? We've seen it in Keene, and we've seen it. There's a lot of non-native born Americans work in construction. We've seen companies come into Keene, do a quick job, and get out of Keene. Then, even in Keene and whatever, you can go into some of the places around here, restaurants and other ones, and you can see non-native non-Native Americans, non-Native workers working in those areas. Okay? A lot of constructions are under the table. And you go, well, you know what? There's a lot of small business owners, construction and remodelers and stuff. They have people working under the table. Even native-born workers under the table going, crap, I don't want to pay 7.65 Social Security. I don't want to have to pay workman's comp. So, hey, you know what? And the other guy goes, hey, I don't want to have to pay 7.65 this. I don't want to have to pay taxes. Let's cut a deal. And the guy goes, okay, I'm going to give you $15 an hour under the table. You know, if I have to pay you when I put insurance and workman's comp, Social Security, all this other kind of stuff, I may have to pay $25. It may cost me $25 an hour. So you save, I save, and we'll make sure I can get it on the books the right way so no one sees the difference. It happens all the time. And that's why the IRS goes after so many private contractors. And then, so again, with 3, in construction, professional and business, and accommodation and food service. So they put professional and business in the middle so you don't pick it up. So you got the construction, low income, you got working accommodation. That's made in housekeepers and stuff in a lot of them motels. Don't get paid a lot of money. Food services doesn't get paid a lot of money. Professional business, computer programmers, IT techs, civil engineers, doctors, researchers, you know, they get paid, but they don't get paid rarely do they get paid as much as Americans get paid. 16% of the recent immigrants worked in the construction industry. Compared to 6% of native-born Americans. You know, growing up, there was a lot of native-born Americans or American citizens working that were immigrants and got the American citizenship and worked in construction. We worked in the mills down in Lowell, Mass, in Manchester, Fall River. Worked up in Maine, the Canucks working up. That's an inappropriate word, but my father-in-law is a French Canadian. He still uses the word. They worked their butts off. They got paid low wages, but the biggest thing was to get that American citizenship. Okay. Construction laborers, carpenters, and electricians. That means in a bunch of places, the people who are doing your electrical work are not certified. Think of that. Look how much a certified electrician costs. How do I save a lot of money? Hey, plain and simple. You know, whenever the inspectors are coming by, I get there. But the idea is I'll get a lot of the people who are not certified. They know how to do the electrical work. They'll do it. So, but when the city inspector comes in here, I'll be right there. I can show him my master's certification. Bingo. 17% of immigrants work in professional and business industry compared to 12% of U.S.-born workers. Most common job in this industry are janitors, security guards, landscapers, and groundkeepers. Not very high-paying jobs. 12% of American immigrants, I'm getting confused myself, of recent immigrants slash migrants work in a combination in food service compared to 7. The most common jobs are food preparation and service workers, waitresses, waiters, cooks, and hotel desk clerks. Goldman Sachs says the typical recent immigrant worker makes about $39,000 a year, which is $18.75 an hour. If they're in California and they work at McDonald's and other fast foods, that has to go up to at least $20. Compared to the typical American-born worker, $54,000 a year, which comes out to a little bit less than $26,000 a year. An hour. There's a number of individuals in Congress, Democrats, in going and saying, hey, you know what, Mr. President, you have the ability to say, all you illegal immigrants, migrants, by my act, my blessing, you now have the ability to go to work. Bingo, you can go to work. But we'll issue you Social Security cards, or we'll give you TIN numbers. We will do all this stuff, okay? And if you're in some states like California, New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, hey, we'll just give you driver's licenses. No big deal, okay? And what I was reading, it says, you know what? If we go in and give them to allow them to work, we'll get $13.5 billion a year in extra taxes. And I go, $13.5 billion, that sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. It's about a state of New Hampshire's 2-year budget. So it's a lot of money. But $13 billion is a rounding error when you're $1.6 trillion in debt. So they go and say, you know what? If we allow these people to work, they'll pay into Social Security and they'll pay into Medicare. So that'll help push it back. Well, that's just to placate American voters. Why? Oh, in 2033, my Social Security check may get dropped to 77%. But if we let the migrants work, bingo, they'll be paying into Social Security, they'll pay, and allow it to go farther. Well, yes, but if I'm 55 and I work for 10 years and I retire, start collecting Social Security, 11 years, or I'm 56 and work 10 years at 66, I start collecting Social Security, even though my check will be small, in about 3 to 4 years, I'll collect more than I put in for Social Security. Medicare is really 1.35, something like that. Oh, I'll be able to get Medicare, and then if I go to the hospital once or twice, even once, I'll take care of cost more money than I all put in. It's just a number of politicians looking at what can I do now to bamboozle the American people so I can get reelected. And I didn't bring that one with me, but when you go in and we kept looking at the numbers, then they go, this is going to help us. But another one goes and says, you know what? When we put all these additional workers, these workers, because there's such a number of workers, they have helped reduce inflation. Why do you say they help, the migrants help reduce inflation? Well, because you got these extra workers, companies do not have to raise the wages to attract and keep people. So before, where people on the bottom were making really good salary increases, according to the statistics, ain't happening anymore. And say, there's not a big waiting line. They can find people to do the jobs at lower wage. Then, here's the other thing. Okay, I'm the city of New York, I'm in Chicago, and I got a family from Venezuela, husband, wife, couple of kids, and I go, you know what? I'm going to give you $15,000, and so I'm going to get you out of these shelters, get you out of these motels, hotels, police station, and I'm going to be able for you to move into a house. Oh, good. Well, that $15,000 was created from what? So that $15,000 that was going to go in government services and everything, but doesn't have much of an impact on the economy, goes to this Venezuelan migrant family who then pays the landlord the money. So the landlord doesn't have any vacancies for that time. Then they get a stipend every month to buy food and all that kind of stuff. So more food is being bought from the stores. New York City with their debit cards. So they're taking money and creating a demand. So, or I have a 200-room Quality Inn, and I go, wait a minute. The state of New York says, or Massachusetts will say, hey, we will buy all 200 rooms for the next 180 days. Hey, but I only have normal occupancy of 70%. Now I'm guaranteed 100%, so I have more money. Now I have 200 families in my motel, and each one of those families need to eat. They need to get a lot of basic necessities. So Walmart makes out, the grocery store makes out, the corner market makes out, Cumberland Farm makes out. And so, guess what happens? They're creating demand. So while we don't see it, that demand, if we go in and I take, say over the last 3 years, if I take 5 million people and I put those 5 million people into an area, those 5 million people have to have a place to live. They have to eat. Some of them are going to get cars. They're going to have a place to live. So that comes out to the regular supply and demand. When the demand goes up and the supply does not increase, prices go up. And so what's happened is, on a high level economics thing, so over the last couple of years, since Joe Biden's been president, you have 5 million people that have created demand. And so that demand shows up in the gross national product. So that's why the growth numbers look so better. Also, by doing that, the president goes and says, we're going to keep spending money. So the president is creating money to buy stuff, which is creating a demand. The president, for example, goes in and says, we're spending billions of dollars on the migrants. The president goes and says, you know what? This charity organization out in Colorado or Arizona or New Mexico, I'll pay you $1 million once the migrants have been processed at the border. We'll drop them off at your place. You take care of them for a while. You get them on a bus. You get them on a plane where they want to go, and we will pay you for that. So it's like, hey, I'm making money. The people, the executive director, the staff, they're getting paid by federal money that doesn't exist but is created to take care of them. So while the president is not giving money to New York and those other places, he's finding ways to get around it and giving money to organizations. So while they complain about, oh, Texas is sending people here, well, the majority of the people that are going these places are being taken care of and facilitated to get to where they want to go, whether it's on an airplane or whatever, by money that the federal government is giving these organizations. And so what it's really come down to is it's money. The American businesses, when you look at it, the American businesses are making a lot of money on the migrants. If I'm a property owner, making money on the migrants. If I'm an airline company, making money on the migrants. If I'm a food producer, making money on the migrants. If I'm baby formula, baby diapers, making money on the migrants. If I'm a corporation, Tyson Food just had an embarrassing thing where they laid off a couple of places, closed down a couple of places and got rid of all the American ones, and then turned around and says, hey, any of you migrants want to come and work for us? You can come and work for us. Yeah. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it to make money, to increase the profit, to increase the share value. And you know what? The politicians care less about the migrants. As long as the migrants are not in my backyard or not in the front of my house, I don't care. You know, as long as the migrants' kids don't show up at my school and cause my taxes to go up through the roof because the law says we have to educate them. So New York, it's like $28,000 a kid. So all of a sudden, 1,000 kids show up to go to school. That's $2.8 million extra that the taxpayers of New York have to come up with. So the people at the higher level, whether it's the president, re-elect them, people in Congress, both Democrat, both Republican, the businesses, the ones that donate a lot of money for campaigns to both sides, hey, we're all fat, dumb, and happy, and we like what's going on because it's benefiting you. But in the end, who cares about little small towns that may be overwhelmed? Who cares about cities that have to pick up the full cost and the long-term consequences? Who cares about the migrants? We don't care. It's just low-cost workers. It's not our responsibility to educate them with all that. That's a local community's job to do that. That's the state and local and state governments to pay to educate them. So when it comes down to the senior people, quote unquote leaders, are trying to play us as ignorant fools. They don't care about us. They don't care about the migrants. They just care about their pocketbook and their positions. So that's it.